Alright folks, this is module 11. We will be looking into automation account. Now automation account is how we can use Azure as our automation engine to schedule jobs, schedule tasks. In order to use this feature, the first thing we need to create is called an automation account, which will log on to the Azure portal to do that. Now the second thing is the concept of a runbook. Okay, and we'll get that in exercise 2. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the Azure portal. All right, and we're going to go to create a new resource. Specify automation. And go ahead and provision an automation account. Alright, so here's the information we're going to fill in: the automation account name, the subscription of which to build to, create a new resource group to store this automation account. Alright, in a few minutes it's going to get created. Now we're going to switch over back to portal, the classic portal, manage.azure.com, and go to directory service to create a new AAD user that will be stored as a credential asset when we create a runbook. Alright, so some common profile information, generate the password. Now, as we always do when we create a new user in AADs, to log in and change the password quickly. Alright, now supply the temporary password that was assigned when we first created the user, and sign in once to change the password. Alright, so here's a quick password update. Alright, so we're signed back into the Azure V1 portal. Now we want to go to the settings and go to administrators and assign the co-administrator privilege for the account we just created. Alright, so far everything's ready. Let's go back to dashboard and let's go to create a automation asset. Oh, so this is the automation account we created earlier. Now when the dashboard comes up for the automation account, you'll find there's a list of tiles represent different things that's stored in the automation account. For example, the assets that we use to construct runbooks, desired state configurations if we have any. So let's go to assets. After all, we want to create a automation user credential asset. So within these assets, you can see there are PowerShell modules certificate used to represent a user, a schedule, which to schedule the jobs. So here's credentials. Let's go and add a new one. Alright, so fill in the information we used to earlier in our default directory. Alright, so you can see the credentials now created. Let's go and create another asset, variables. Well, so here's a variable we're going to use in our runbook. We'll call it subscription name. So here's our subscription name, and our subscription is called Azure Space Pass. Let's not encrypt this variable. Now we're going to repeat this procedure to create a few additional variables. This is task 3, step 14. Alright, so these are some of the additional variables: admin name, admin password, location, network subnet, etc. We'll use them, we'll refer to them in the runbook. So the next thing we're going to create is a schedule. So I'm going to dismiss, close out this blade, and go to schedules. Now we're going to create an end of day schedule that runs at 1800 hours recurring daily for 1 day. Alright, so here were the schedules. Add a new schedule. Alright, now here's a schedule that takes place at 1800 hours every single day starting tomorrow. And it's going to be a recurring schedule. And let's go ahead and click on the create. I'm ready to go. Alright, now we have all the assets that we need for this exercise. Let's go back and import a runbook. So here we're going to click on the runbook tile. There are 2 out of the box ones. And we're going to import our own. Now notice there is a browse gallery that will take you to an online resource with dozens, if not hundreds, of runbooks that you can simply import and use. Now we're just going to click on plus. Now we're going to import an existing runbook. Now this will come from our local D drive, our lab hard disk, lab files, Lab11 solutions. Alright, so this PowerShell 1 will be our runbook. Alright, this is a PowerShell workflow. Let's go ahead and create one. Alright, now this runbook has been created. It's currently in a new state. We can click on the name and review its content. Now by click on the runbook, the settings blade comes up. Let's scroll back to the left and click on edit to see the source of this runbook. Now there are a few points of interest. Notice in the beginning of the workflow we use get automation PS credential to get a default Azure automation credential, default Azure credential, and we also do a get automation variables. So these are the various variables that we set up earlier. Alright, so here we're going to make a quick change on line 3 to change the credential to the name that we created earlier as an asset called PS credential. It's not called default Azure. So I'm going to make some quick changes here on line 3. But everything else looks pretty good. Oops, too far. Let's go back. Alright, so once we're okay with this workflow runbook, we can go ahead and publish it so it can then be scheduled. Alright, now we can look at the runbook and see that it is now published. and we're ready to manually start it if we like to, or we can associate a schedule with this job. So here we can say schedule, add a schedule, and we can link an existing schedule that we defined previously if we like to. End of day, so it will run this runbook every day at the end of the day. But let's head back for a moment, and let's say we don't want to wait until the 1800 hours of next day. We can go ahead and say go ahead and run this runbook one time. Are you sure that you want to start the runbook? And let's say yes. And I'm going to fast forward a little. Now you'll see that this is the name of the runbook followed by the timestamp when the request is submitted. Now since the job is running non-interactively, we can use the output tile to keep an eye on the progress of the PowerShell, and we can see that it's able to log in to our Azure subscription successfully, and looks like the provisioning of the VM is happening according to the plan. So that's the end of publishing and executing a runbook, and that should conclude Lab 11 exercise. Please don't forget to do a reset Azure towards the end of this exercise.